In a game full of tragic storylines, big over-the-top sequences, and even bigger characters, it's easy to miss the quieter ones. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 gives you a full class of well-drawn-out, battle-hardened people, and most of them, frankly, want you to know how broken they are. But then there's Sciel. She's calm, she's measured, and kind, but at the same time, she could be absolutely deadly. First glance, she might look like the more archetypal support character, the one who's there to pick you up after the real heroes have their moment, but spend some time with her and you start to see the truth. Seil isn't just the heart of the expedition, she might just be the foundation of it. And when it comes to gameplay, she's straight up overpowered in the right hands. Seil walks in with a scythe, a bright disposition, and a combat system so deceptively intricate, you'd think she was built for min-maxers only, but here's the twist. She's not just the best character mechanically, she's the soul of this game. Let's talk about why.
I'm the one whispering to them. It's something my dad and I used to do.
You've been quiet since we left the village.
Yeah, sorry. Just bad memories. When it's hard to talk about things, the stars will understand.
Let's start with the obvious. Sciel is easy to overlook. She's not at the forefront, she's not particularly loud either. She doesn't have a big twist waiting to be revealed halfway through the game, but that's kind of the point. Sciel's strength comes from her consistency. While the rest of the cast is caught in various states of emotional collapse or existential dread, Sciel is the one character who never loses sight of the mission, or the people around her for that matter. She's composed, emotionally intelligent, and unshakably loyal. Not because she's void of pain, but because she's already made peace with it. And that's where her character gets really interesting. Sciel used to be a teacher and it shows, not just in how she speaks, but in how she listens. She's naturally nurturing, yes, but there's also a strong sense of boundary in how she supports the others. She doesn't enable them, she doesn't try to fix them, she just shows up with empathy and clarity again and again. This makes her one of the few characters who feels like she belongs in this world, while at the same time she's pushing back against it. In a game obsessed with the cycle of destruction and renewal, Sciel represents a kind of quiet resistance, the idea that you don't have to be consumed by the system just because you're part of it. Her role in the party backs this up. She's often the voice of reason, but not in a patronizing way. More like someone who's put the time in to do the work on herself and now holds a space for others to do the same. And while her writing is understated, it's incredibly consistent. Every line she delivers reinforces her central qualities: stability, compassion, and an ability to see beyond the chaos in front of her. In short, Sciel is the kind of character who anchors a party, not with flashy moves or tragic drama, but with kind of an emotional realism that makes the whole story feel more grounded. And the more time you spend with her, the more you realize this game doesn't really work that well without her. Now let's talk about mechanics, because if Sciel's personality is about balance and stability, her combat system directly reflects that perfectly. Her core mechanic is called Foretell, a system where you alternate between sun and moon abilities to stack and detonate damage. Sun applies Foretell, moon consumes it. Sounds simple, right? But this is where it gets kind of deep. You have to keep that balance in motion. Stick too long on one side and your damage falls flat. Sync it up correctly and you're pulling off some of the most satisfying combo chains in the game. What makes Foretell so rewarding is how it forces you to think in turns, not moments. You're planning ahead, lining up detonations, holding off on big abilities until the exact right time. It gives her gameplay a deliberate tempo, and mastering it means knowing not just what to do, but exactly when to do it. Then there's the Twilight state. You unlock this by alternating sun and moon abilities in a single turn, which activates a buffed mode where Sciel's skills become that much stronger. Her Foretell duration extends and she gains access to more efficient, harder hitting abilities. It's not just a damage spike, it's a tactical shift that gives you control over the flow of the battle. When to enter Twilight and how to maximize its window is where the skill ceiling really opens up. Take Sealed Fate. This ability detonates all your Foretell stacks and scales based on how many were applied. If you've built her right and timed it well, it's one of the best single target finishers in the entire game. Great for boss phase transitions, elite mobs, or high priority enemies with shields. And it's not just raw numbers. Sciel's animations are quick, which means she stays nimble in the turn queue. An underrated but critical aspect of the game where turn control really matters. The result, a combat style that's both intuitive and high skill, easy to pick up, tough to master, and deeply satisfying once it clicks. Where Sciel really separates herself from the rest of the cast is in her versatility. She can fill multiple roles depending on how you build her, and all of them are viable. Start with her DPS setup, stack agility and luck, and equip her with a crit scaling weapon, and she becomes a fast, efficient foretell engine. Her quick turn speed lets her cycle abilities faster, enter Twilight mode more frequently, and keep pressure on targets across multiple phases. Add in crit boosting Luminas or Pictos, and she can become your primary damage dealer with very little setup cost. But if you already have a main DPS, no problem. Sciel transitions easily into a support damage hybrid with Grim Harvest. She provides reliable party healing and Plentiful Harvest, which restores AP, which is a major help in long fights where your economy starts to crumble. And because these are all tied to her Twilight state, you're still encouraged to engage with her full skill rotation rather than just turning her into a passive heal bot. There's also a defensive variant with a focus on defense and defensive gear, and you can build up a more tank style Sciel who still contributes solid damage while staying on the field longer than most of the other characters. And the kicker, Sciel plays well with everyone. Buff focused allies extend her Twilight damage window, shield breakers benefit from her timing flexibility, even those that inflict more status buffs benefit from the way she softens up targets with precision damage, setting up clean finishers time and time again. She doesn't need synergy to function, but she enhances everyone else just by being in the party. In an RPG where team balance matters and flexibility wins out over raw numbers, Sciel's ability to plug into any team composition, any playstyle, and any phase of the game from early fights to endgame bosses is completely rare, and that's what makes her so indispensable. You can always tell when a character wasn't just slapped together to fill a gameplay role, but designed with narrative intent, and Sciel might be the best example of that in Expedition 33. From top to bottom, her design is about balance. She embodies it in every layer, the way she fights, the way she speaks, the way she carries herself in scenes. Sciel is a character built around the idea of measured duality. Her core mechanic is literally a balance between sun and moon, two opposing forces she has to navigate turn by turn. But the idea runs deeper than just a skill tree. It's baked into how she functions thematically. The world of Clair Obscur is built on extremes. It's a world that keeps repeating itself because the people in it can't stop swinging from one end of the spectrum to the other. But Sciel is different. She's one of the few characters who acknowledges the brokenness of the cycle without letting it define her. She doesn't fall into despair, but she also doesn't pretend things are fine. She sits with both truths, that yes, this world is cruel, and yes, it's worth protecting anyway. That's why she's the person who teaches, not the one who preaches or commands. Even her Twilight state, mechanically speaking, is about embracing contradiction. It's what happens when two opposing forces are brought into alignment, and instead of canceling each other out, they amplify themselves. That's not just a combat mechanic, that's her worldview. There's a moment in one of her later conversations, and I'm not going to spoil too much here, where she reflects on a past student who didn't make it, and instead of turning that memory into some trauma, the scene is quiet, thoughtful, sad, but overall resolved. It's a short interaction, but it nails exactly what makes Sciel work as a character, and that's what I love so much about this character and how she was written. So here's the bottom line. Sciel isn't just the best character in Expedition 33 because she's strong. She is strong, no question, but what really sets her apart is how complete she is. Her personality supports her mechanics reinforce her themes, and her themes elevate the entire game. She's the kind of character who makes you play better, not just because she's powerful, but because she encourages you to think a little more, plan a little further, and slow down just enough to appreciate the game for what it's doing. And honestly, that is so rare in game design today. There's a lot to love in Expedition 33. There's big battles, great voice acting, gorgeous visuals, but it's characters like Sciel, subtle, smart, and quietly vital, that make the game worth loving. Anyway, that's it for me in this one. I fell in love with this game the moment it began, and I could gush about it, each and every one of these characters, but this one really stuck out to me as something special, and I felt the need to express that here. Let me know in the comments below if you've been playing Expedition 33. If so, what do you think, and who's your favorite character? I look forward to reading all your thoughts. I also want to mention that my good friend Retro Brandon and I have a podcast called Level Up Legacy, and we spent an entire episode breaking down our impressions of this amazing game. This episode is spoiler free. I'll link it in the description below. And until next time, I'm out.